Hello and welcome. Today we're privileged to have two guests, Annette Robinson and Malcolm Lawrence, two people from completely different ethnicities, backgrounds, and faiths. Now, 10 years ago, they were colleagues, a dentist and dental nurse. And by divine intervention, they became inextricably linked through the most extraordinary and unlikely circumstances nobody could have ever predicted. Annette and Malcolm, welcome to Hope Restored. So, I understand that you're both retired now, both retired from your dentistry practice where you worked in London. Annette, this story begins with you awaking from a dream, was it?
No, it wasn't a dream.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
I thought it was a dream, but it wasn't a dream. I woke up and it's as if Jesus was just standing at the foot of my bed and he says to me, I'm going to have to give Malcolm one of my kidneys. And he
One
went.
of your kidneys
Yeah,
just said this.
just
Wow.
said it. And so at first I thought it was a dream, but I wasn't dreaming because I was awake. Um And so I pondered for a moment. It was a work day. So I went to the bathroom, showered, left home, still thinking about it, went into work, did a day's work, came home in the evening, and I called Malcolm. And the banter that we have with each other while we were working was such that I asked him, how would he like a black kidney?
How would
And
he
he said,
like a black kidney? So let me just ask, Malcolm had told you before that he needed a kidney?
no.
How? Oh,
No, he
okay.
didn't. No,
All
he
right.
didn't. No, he didn't. I knew he had kidney problems, but I didn't know that he needed a kidney.
Okay.
But because Jesus told me I need to give him my kidney, so that was why I rang him, asked him, how would he fancy a black kidney? His response to me was, he doesn't care what color the kidney is as long as it works. And why? And then I relayed to him my experience of the morning.
Of the vision. Was it kind of a vision that you had?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Malcolm, what was it like hearing this from Annette? Do you remember the day, the phone call?
Yes, I remember very clearly. The thing is,
Okay.
if I might just talk a little bit about what it's like. Now,
Mm,
when you're on dialysis, that means when your blood has to be filtered because your kidneys aren't working, then
right.
it's quite a performance. You have to go in 3 times a week, and you don't feel all that well. I mean, I'm back on dialysis now, but anyway, that's a separate story. The thing is, when Annette said that she wanted to give me a kidney, I was I was completely ambivalent. First of all, there's nothing a dialysis patient wants better than having a transplant. At the same
Right.
time, to
Right.
take it to Annette, who was younger than me and a mother and a grandmother at the time, I felt I just couldn't bear to take it from her because it's emotionally and psychologically it's very difficult. And although I wanted the kidney, at the same time I just didn't feel I had the right to take it from Annette.
Right. So did you then refuse it at first, or what happened?
I did refuse it. I did refuse it, but Annette fought with me. And
Okay.
in the end, obviously, I wanted to give way because I wanted the kidney at the same time. I
Right.
I didn't. It's like, almost like a violation, isn't it? You're taking kidney away. Although we know quite well that one can survive very well on one kidney at the same time, it's like a sort of violation. And
Oh,
I I felt half of me was very reticent, and the other half of me couldn't wait to have it. Does that make
Wow.
sense?
So bit of a challenge there and a decision to make. So Annette, what was it like for you once you decided to tell Malcolm that you wanted to offer him a kidney? And then he says, well, uh, he didn't feel that he ought to.
No, because when I told him the
Hmm.
experience that I had that morning, I mean, the phone went silent for a bit,
Okay.
and then he says to me, "Can you think about it?" So I said, "Yes, of course." So we chatted, and then hang up, and then a few days later, he called me back, and he said that he had a chat with his wife, and if I'm sure that I want to do it, then he would put me in touch with the live donor coordinator, because you have to jump through quite a number of hoops before you can go ahead and donate an organ, especially, you're not dead, you're alive. So yeah, there were quite a number of hoops to jump through.
Right. So who did you tell? You told Malcolm first, but
Mm-hmm.
then I'm assuming now you need to tell somebody. You're going to need to tell your family. What
Nope,
happened? No,
nope,
you didn't tell your family
nope,
straight away. What
nope,
did you
nope, nope.
do? I'm
Nothing.
intrigued.
Um, when Malcolm came back to me and gave me the number for, and no, he didn't give me the number. He told me that the live donor coordinator would be in touch with me.
Mhm.
And I think it was about a week or 10 days later, she rang me up. Jenny was her name. And we had a chat, and she says to me, look, you don't have to do this, but, it's a good thing if you do. And I said, well, I have to, because, God told me this is what I'm going to have to do. So that's what I'm going to have to do. So then the process started
Okay.
for the workups. I had to, and this was done at Hammersmith Hospital, the renal unit there. And so I went, had to go through lots of tests. They really put you through the paces, because obviously now they're going to have to make sure that you are fit and well, and the one kidney that you will be left with will be able to sustain you, will be
Right.
good.
Right.
So yes, so we started the process. I think that was sort of like end of May, beginning of June. And I went through until because the operation was in November. And as I
Oh, so
said,
there's quite a period of time
yes. So
between.
as I said, you had to go through rigorous tests,
Wow.
both physically and mentally. I had appointments with the psychiatrist to say, what is, how it's going to affect me, and the fact that they need to know that Malcolm wasn't paying me, I wasn't going to be remunerated for this, because it's unethical for money to change hands and things like that.
Yeah.
So I didn't tell my family actually until a date was set.
Let me come back to the point about your family in a moment. Malcolm, let me just ask, while these months and weeks and months and days are passing, what's going through your mind? Because or are you also having to do some medical procedures or so in that period of time?
Yes, obviously, I had to be examined too. I think the point we haven't quite made yet is the fact that Annette's kidney was compatible with me. That's the whole. That's a very important point. That
What
part part
very
part of the whole story is the compatibility. Now we're both, as you can see, we're different cultures, we're different colours,
absolutely,
we're different sexes, and different religions. Of course,
absolutely.
what the whole thing shows is how superficial colour is. And I mean, you couldn't have anything more profound than having a transplant, and that just shows that underneath we're all quite the same. So
Amen.
I thought that was a very good spin-off, though we've never utilised it, but I think that would be a good spin-off to counter colour prejudice.
Absolutely,
Uh,
because yeah, I'm just wondering at what point do you find out, pardon my ignorance about transplant, but whether you are a match? Do
I
you have to
can't.
go through a process before finding out? Well, yeah, how long does that take to discover?
Can you remember, Annette? I can't remember, but I don't think it's.
No, I don't, I think it was like pretty earlier on because
Okay,
I had to do blood tests and stuff like that. So it was pretty early in the process that that a match that we were compatible,
and
so
that's just the chances of you being a match. This is what I find totally amazing. What are the
Yeah,
chances? Did they say they may have? Did they say, well,
I can't remember.
at the hospital,
I
I
the
can't
can't
remember,
chances of
remember.
you
but it was quite.
actually being a match?
I can't remember. It's quite small. It's getting easier these days because they can make kidneys more compatible, but at the time
Right,
it was really quite a small chance.
quite
Uh,
right.
the thing is, as I said, the whole time I was I was schizophrenic. I was cutting two. Half of me was saying, "You must have this kidney. What a marvel! How wonderful it will be to be released from dialysis and to live a
Yes,
normal life." And the other half was saying me, "Oh, Annette's going to give a kidney away, and what damage am I doing to her?" So the whole
right.
time I felt exactly the same way. I I,
Mm,
I felt ambivalent. Particularly as I
right.
knew Annette. I mean, if you'd been an anonymous donor, some people do give anonymously, then you can't really have much emotion attached to it because you don't know the person.
Yes,
So
good point.
the whole thing was to me was quite an amazing experience, and shows that there's something more to life than appears to be superficially.
Superficially, absolutely. So, Annette, back to the point with your family. You said you didn't tell anybody until you got a date
Hmm.
to actually go for surgery, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Wow. Okay, so tell us
And
what
I
happened
mean,
then.
I have three children,
Mhm.
two boys and a girl. My sons were sort of like blasé, saying, "Well, it's your kidney. You can do what you want to do with it." My eldest says to me that because all my children, they know Malcolm. So my eldest says to me, "Well, you tell him that you're donating the kidney, but if any of us needs it, then we're coming back to
You
him
need
for
it
it."
back. Okay.
And I said to him that it doesn't work. It doesn't quite work like that. My
Right.
daughter, though, was adamant. She did not want me to do it. And I said to her, well, it's too late now. And I said, God has said that this is what I do. And
Okay.
for me, I couldn't then build up somebody's hope to say, and then at the last minute you pull out, even though the hospital was saying to me, I can withdraw at any time. I don't have to go through with it. The live donor coordinator, she was such a lovely person, and every step of the way, every appointment I have, she was saying to me, "Look, you don't have to do this, because he's not a member of your family or anything. You're not obligated." I said, "But I am, because this was what God says to me that I have to do." And so therefore, because I am then now putting myself in Malcolm's shoe to think, if I was in need, somebody offered, and then at the last minute they pull out, how would I feel?
Absolutely. So you
I would
go.
be totally devastated,
Mm,
So
mm,
yeah,
mm.
no, I couldn't do that.
You
Yeah.
couldn't, and obviously, Malcolm, and we're very grateful that you did. You listened to what God told you to do. So take us to now the surgery. How long is a transplant surgery? How long does it take? How long do you have to be in
Okay.
hospital? And
So
for
so
both of you,
leading
so
up
yeah.
leading up to the surgery, one of the consultant there was saying to me that I would need 6 weeks off work, just to recuperate, get back into the swing of everything. I should be in hospital for 5 days. Malcolm would be in for 10 days because obviously they're going to have to monitor whether there's going to be any rejection or anything. And I remember one of the time talking to the consultant, and he's saying to me, right, so you now know, you need to take 6 weeks off work. And I'm saying to him, I don't need 6 weeks off work. Jack Naylor only had 10 days. So he looked at me and he says to me, who's Jack Naylor?
Right.
So I said, Holby City.
Okay. And so you think, well, you're going to sort of go
Yeah.
through this swiftly.
Yeah.
So
So I'm
let me
saying
just
to him,
ask Malcolm,
I don't
because
need 6
Malcolm's
weeks.
in. Yeah, sorry, Malcolm's. You. How long were you supposed to be in? Just remind me, how long was Malcolm supposed to be in? Malcolm, how long were you expected to be in sort of hospital and incapacitated?
I was in
Okay, so
hospital.
he was supposed to be in for 10 days, and I
Okay.
should have been out after 5 days because
All right.
I'm all they're doing is just removing my kidney, implanting it in him. So there's no rejection or anything like that to think about. So it's just me going home, recuperating, and everything else like that. Well,
And the
the
surgery
evil one had other
itself.
plans in mind.
Well, so did it go to
Well,
plan,
well,
Malcolm? How
well,
long were you actually? Did you have any complications with?
well, it went all the wrong way around because the transplant with me went absolutely fantastically. I didn't stay in the full amount of time. I had a very strange experience when I was under the anaesthetic. I somehow was conscious of what was going. There's no pain. I was somehow conscious of what was going on, and I felt the kidney being put in, and I felt the kidney working, and I knew inside of me
Really?
that I got this working, and
Wow.
I felt very good. And once the kidney was, once I came round and everything, I did a lot of drinking. My wife had brought in a bottle of barley water, and I had 7 glasses because they're not allowed to
Oh
drink very much when you're on diet. And I felt
no.
tremendous. Unfortunately, as Annette will tell, she had a contrary experience. So Annette, you tell about it.
So Annette, yeah. So how you were expected?
Okay, so the transplant took place on November the 5th, 2012.
Okay.
We went to theatre, came back up, and what they do is they put the recipient and the donor in the same ward side by side.
Right.
And in the afternoon, my consultant came, and I could see that he was not looking very happy. And so they had me on a monitor just to make sure everything was okay. And he came back and he says, I'm very sorry, but we're going to have to take you back to theatre because now there is no blood flowing to your legs because we think we've nicked your aorta. So we're going to have to take you back to surgery to repair.
Wow.
They took me back to surgery. They opened me up. I mean, to remove the kidney is usually just like a 6-inch cut in your back, but now they had to open me up from the front because obviously they've said they've nicked my aorta, so they're going to have to repair that. Both my legs were opened up because there was no blood flowing to my legs.
Wow.
And so I went back to theatre, opened me up. They sewed up one of my leg, but the other one was giving some problems, so that had to be the wound had to be left open from the Monday to the Sabbath when they took me back to theatre to repair that.
So let me just ask you, what's going through your mind at this? I'm just wondering, you've received this revelation, you've gone through the tests, you're in the surgery, it's done, you're both in the ward, it seems to be working, then some complications develop.
Well,
what goes through your mind? Was there any?
well, can you?
Yeah, just yeah.
I'll tell
What
you
what was?
exactly. I'll tell you exactly what went through my mind. I was feeling, again, very schizophrenic because half of me was saying, "You really feel well. You've had a very, very successful transplant," but the other half of me was saying, "Look at poor Annette. She's in pain. She's going back
Oh,
to surgery. She had a lot of surgery." I just couldn't be happy about it. I couldn't be happy about my
yeah,
transplant because I was
yeah.
so concerned about Annette. And I was the very cause of that. So it was such a contrasting situation. In fact, my wife who's sitting next to me here announced that. Do you remember that? Because she was feeling very cold, and she went out from West Centre. Do you remember that, Annette? Or have you forgotten?
Yes, yeah. So once I came back from theater, I was in they moved me to the high dependency ward.
Oh,
So and I don't know why I was feeling that cold, but they had me on these blankets and stuff.
Your
And then my
voice.
daughter, obviously, who
But
didn't want me to do it, she was just beside herself.
oh,
She was just beside herself. Um, for me, and up till now, um, it hasn't it hasn't bothered me, funny enough. I mean, I think up until the surgery, I mean, for me, one of my thing with God was I was praying and asking him for patience. Okay. The fruit of the spirit is love, joy, peace, long suffering, patience, all of that. And my friends couldn't get it. They're asking me, why are you asking for patience? You work with people, you've got patience. Even at work, the girls were saying to me that, you've got patience with the patients and everything else like that.
mhm,
So,
mhm,
you know,
mhm.
but I say, yeah, but the patience that I'm supposed to have, I don't have. And so I remember, so the thing is, as I said, I was supposed to be in hospital for 5 days. Malcolm was supposed to be in hospital for 10 days. Malcolm went home after 5 days.
Wow.
I spent 21 days on my back looking up at the ceiling.
Ooh. And in all this time, it sounds like you're thinking, well, this is the mission. You agreed to this and you're going through, even though you said
Yep.
you don't have patience,
oh,
you
was I?
accepted.
Yep.
Uh, yes, we could have. Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So even though you thought you didn't have patience, that sounded like a mini like a trial, really,
Yes. Yeah,
about your
yeah, yeah, yeah.
patience.
And I remember one of the nights lying there on my back looking up at the ceiling, and I just burst out laughing because I tell folks that God has a terrific sense of humor. We might not believe it, but he has. And I just lay there and I just burst out laughing, and I thought, Lord, is this how you are teaching me patience? Because obviously now I couldn't move. I just had to lay there. The nurses had to come do everything for me for about 10 days or so. So I'm thinking, okay, I get it. I get it.
So and Malcolm, you went home early from the
I
surgery.
went.
You,
So it was all reversed. Instead of that coming to see
yes,
me, I was coming to see her. And I was well
yes.
enough to go to the hospital, see a couple of times. And there she was with a Bible, reading her Bible. And I felt so the whole of my triumph in having a successful transplant was totally was totally negated. I mean, here's poor Annette in bed. She's done this, as we say in Hebrew, there's a word called mitzvah, which means doing a very good deed. She'd done this mitzvah, and she'd given me a kidney, and I don't think you could do a greater one than that, a greater mitzvah than that.
I totally
And here she
agree.
was here she was in bed, not well, and here's me, running around. So the whole thing was just it was an emotional chaos. I think that's how you'd put
Oh,
it.
so
The-
I'm because I know people are thinking, well, so what happened? Is this kidney still in Malcolm? Is it still working? if we bring us up to
Well, no,
today.
no, my kidney, well, it's still working a little bit, but it lasted for almost 10 years, and I
10
have to go
years.
back on dialysis. Yes, but those 10 years were very fruitful. I was able to, do lots of things I couldn't have done. And it was a lease of the expression, a lease of life. It was now I'm back on dialysis, which is bit more of a bind. I mean, I keep well enough, though I have quite a bit of songs were a gift from heaven and a gift from Annette.
Absolutely a gift
So
from heaven.
I
10
mean,
extra
it's
years.
what what can one say? I mean, it was, and all these issues that were involved with it, and the complications that happened,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the emotions you feel about the whole thing, were things you can only experience if you've only understand if you've had the experience. So
Absolutely.
mm,
And then Annette,
Mhm.
you are well, you look well, you both look well. I mean,
I
we're talking about 10 years on.
I am well. And you know what? A year to the date. Okay, so I donated my kidney in 2012. I was off work for 3 months, having told my consultant, who told me 6 weeks. I ended up being home for 3 months, but I went back to work. And then a year to the date, I went into work and I said, "Hey guys, it's a year since I donated my kidney, and look at me." Da, 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 da. And after about 15 minutes, I said to them, "I'm not feeling too well." So, so they said to me, "Do you want to go home?" So I said, "No, no, 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 no. I'll be fine. Just give me 10 minutes in the secretary's office. Just let me sit down. I'll be okay." Well, after about 5 minutes or so, one of the other nurses came in and she goes to me, "And I don't like how you look. You look green. I'm phoning for an ambulance." I'm like, "No, no, no, no. I don't need an ambulance. I'll be fine. I'm phoning for an ambulance." so,
So this is a
so
year later. You
this
have
is a year later.
is
So
it a little blip?
at that
Yeah.
time I
Yeah.
was so I'm working at the Eastman Dental, and we're part of UCLH Trust. So they took me to the main UCLH hospital, and I was there for nearly the whole day. Wasn't feeling well, wasn't eating. Anyway, about 4 o'clock, the consultant came and says to me, "We can't find out what's wrong with you, but before we send you home, we're just gonna make sure you can eat and stuff. So, get yourself a sandwich and what have you." So my friend who came to the hospital with me got me a sandwich. I ate half a pot of yogurt, and then I brought the whole thing up. So then the consultant says, "Well, no, we can't send you home then, because you're not able to keep anything down. So we're just gonna have to keep you in and do some tests." So I was transferred to a ward, and then not able to keep anything down, so I was nil by mouth. And then they did an X-ray and said that there's a blockage. So I had some tissue adhesion, and so I had to go back to theatre again, remove some of my intestine, and I was off work again for another 3 months. But do you know what? Since then, by God's grace, apart from COVID, I've not had any illness at
Oh,
all.
amen. Amen.
And I just see God's hand in all of this, and the Bible tells us that we all have to have a testimony. And I think this is my testimony, because to everyone who hears it, and it's not something that I brag about, at work, they're all sort of like, telling what a wonderful person I am and everything else like that. And I'm saying, I'm not really, and I only managed to do it by God's grace.
Amen.
But yeah, and God has been extremely good to me and to my family. I mean, while I was in hospital, Malcolm came, visited me virtually every day until I was discharged. And our friendship has been exactly the same. You know, um, I remember when I came home, because so surgery was in November, so it was winter time. And I remember in early January, I was at my mom's because I went to my mom. Once I was discharged from hospital, I went and stayed like a month with my mom just to get myself back on my feet. And one day it was snowing, and he used to phone me every day, to the point where I used to say to him, Malcolm, please, can you just leave me alone? I'm fine. But I think that's because that was his guilt, and I'm trying to say to him, don't feel guilty, because God has taken care of me. All is well. But I remember this particular day in January when it snowed, and he rang me, and I'm thinking, oh, what now? So he says to me, on a day like today, you do not know what it is that you have done for me. And I said, why? What? And he says, it's snowing. And if I had to go for dialysis, it would have taken me the whole day.
Oh, wow.
And it's just little things like that just makes you realize just how good God is.
Absolutely, absolutely. Malcolm, do you remember? Do you recall that day?
I don't actually recall it, but what I want to emphasize is its approach. She's got a wonderful approach. Somebody else could have reacted quite differently. They could have felt that God had behaved badly and had done things he shouldn't have done. But Annette has got a wonderful spirit, and that's what the whole story is, her reaction to everything that happened. I think that's very important. She's a very, very positive person. And she doesn't understand sometimes why other people aren't the same as her. But her approach to the whole thing has been quite unique. So I mean, I think there's so many lessons we can learn from what happened. The way we both reacted, the way we both felt, the way we had these different emotions, and the way Annette was so marvelous. The way she saw herself through the whole thing and made light of things really quite worrying. And I, all the time, I'm very grateful. I just feel that I was, what's the word to use? I was just there and was part of this. I was part of the whole thing. It's just a sort of a happening that is quite unique, really. But we can
Absolutely
draw so
unique.
much out of it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's an amazing story. It is so unique. Nobody ever could have predicted that this would have worked out this way. You're working together. We talked about the difference in culture, ethnicity, faith, everything. And God
Right?
orchestrated this. Sorry, Malcolm. You said yes?
Well, I think, you can't really discuss these things in rational terms, because there's more to life than what appears to be on the surface. And I think
Absolutely.
sometimes, as Wittgenstein says, you just got to keep quiet, because you can just accept what's there, but you can't really sit on a rational basis. I have to say, it's a wonderful thing that happened, and we all.
Well, I think that this story's been absolutely marvelous. I know that people who hear it will be blessed by it. And thank you both very, very much for sharing it with us here at Hope Restored. And I wish you the very best. Malcolm, you said you had 10 good years. Annette, you are keeping well. Malcolm, you are relatively well. And, I just pray that God continues to bless the health of both of you and your families.
Amen.
And thank you so much for coming here today to share it. So God bless both of you. All the best.
You're
Take
very
care.
welcome.
Bye-bye
You're
now.
very welcome. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thanks.